Welcome to Bunch Formation, your newest favorite college football show. I am Chris Vannini, and we've got football this week, David.
I am very excited for that, Chris. I am David Ubben, and after being cut from the New York Times 53-man roster, I am exploring the eligibility guidelines to go back to my college newspaper. So, Columbia, Missourian reporters, watch your back.
You don't even need to be cut, apparently, to go back. You can just choose to go back. We got a fun show today. We're going to hit on a couple of news topics like these NFL players coming back to college football, what's really going on, and what it all means. A starting quarterback named at Alabama, a strange contract extension for one coach. And then we're going to give our preseason picks for the college football playoff. We're going to give our full bracket as well as our Heisman picks. And we will remember some guys. Later this week on Thursday for the Thursday show, we will have our week 0 preview. We will have our first game weekend preview of the season. I'm fired up about it, but we got a couple other things to take care of before we get to that. Please subscribe to the YouTube if you don't. We're very close to 900. We're getting right up near 880. Would love to get to 900 before the season fully starts. Even if you don't watch on YouTube, just hit subscribe there. It helps the show as well. And tell your friends. I was looking at the numbers the other day. I think listenership and consumers are up like 115% compared to 30 days ago. Like football's here. People are getting back in. Tell your friends about the show if they're not listening. Thanks to everybody who's been with us this whole time. Welcome to people who are coming back. And welcome to people who are new. And on that point, I am starting to send out the Bunch Formation helmet stickers that we made available a couple of weeks ago. I'm writing out the addresses of every single person on the envelopes and sending them out myself. And Dave, it's been really cool to see that we have listeners, people reaching out from literally all four corners of the country and everywhere in between. And not only that, we got a sticker request from Bongani in South Africa. We got two from Canada, Thomas and David. We got one from Denmark. Soon, I think is how I pronounce your name. I will figure out how to get those stickers to you. It might take a little bit longer. But David, it's been really cool to kind of see everybody reaching out year 2 as we kind of get into this show here.
Good deal. Nobody from Antarctica, though. So we're still...
No, not that.
In South Africa and Denmark, we only have really 3 continents accounted for. So we got some work to do.
That's pretty good.
Japanese listeners, I need you guys to check in. Surely there's somebody in Sydney who accidentally clicked on a football podcast looking for like 7s.
We do get listeners from those other countries. I haven't checked out the map recently, but these are just the people, the 95 people who reached out for the stickers, which I'm also sending you one. David, I got your address. So
reportedly. We'll see. You say that.
I will. I spent most of Saturday doing that, so I'm starting to get them out. So they should be getting out pretty soon to folks. If you haven't checked out the show notes, we'll have timestamps in there, links to stories, and send any feedback you have to bunchformationpod@gmail.com, including if you'd like to advertise. And please leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and leave a review. We'll read them on the show. We haven't gotten a review in about a month. So if you have any nice things to say about us, please leave them there. But I'm excited to kind of get into the regular flow of the season here. One of David's kids is going to school. That's going to help out the show, right, David? I think
we think we'll see. I think it's going to be an emptier house than it usually is. We'll see.
All right. And with that, we got some news to talk about first. And to do that, we go into the media scrum.
That's why I don't read the newspaper. Because it's garbage.
So all these players trying to come back to college football. It's been going on for a couple of weeks. We haven't really talked about it on the show because it was very fluid. And I kind of wanted to wait until we got to the season to know what was real and what was not. So if you've been hearing about this, seeing stuff about it, reading anything about it, hey, how are some of these guys who graduated or are in NFL training camps coming back to college football specifically? How is that happening? So what happened was a few months ago, the NCAA passed a new rule allowing 5 years of eligibility for all players moving forward. There's no red shirts, no waivers. You get 5 years. to play up to 5 seasons. And the clock starts either when you turn 19 or when you enroll in school, whichever one is first. So the international players, if they come later, they won't have 5 years. They'll have up until, 24 years old. But the class of 2022 seniors, the guys who graduated last year, were not grandfathered in. So many of them have sued to try to come back, to say, hey, we have a chance to make money here that we didn't get, similar to the people who sued who couldn't get NIL back in the day that led to the House settlement. A federal case in Colorado a few weeks back granted almost everybody that 5th year. And others have sued in state courts and have gotten a 5th year, and in many cases, the ability to transfer, which you couldn't do because the transfer portal was back in January, but they've been given the ability to transfer too. But last week, a court stayed that federal ruling in Colorado, making most of those 5th-year player attempts ineligible again, most of them. But if you got it in a state court, if you were a separate case, those are still allowed. So players, some notable players here on both sides. Stephen Daly at Indiana, last year is their top pass rusher last year. Ismail Mahdi, the leading rusher at Arizona, guys who were trying to come back because of the federal ruling. Those guys are now ineligible again. But other players, some guys who are in the NFL, like Jack Pyburn, like Thomas Castellanos, the quarterback formerly at Florida State, they are eligible and can transfer now. Even guys currently playing in the NFL, which is very weird. And our colleague Matt Baker talked to Pyburn literally Saturday night, who's still unsure what to do. This might seem insane to you that players who are rookies in the NFL can come back and the season starts this week, but it's true. I have a couple of thoughts on it. But David, as we've seen this play out over a couple of weeks, what have you thought about all of it?
2 words, Chris: collective bargaining. You could prevent it. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
So
make rules. It is what it is. Like, at the end of the day, I think everyone knows this is stupid. I think if you ask these guys who are exploring coming back, they know it's stupid, but everybody's going to act in their self-interest. If you're going to be making, I don't know what's the practice squad
practice
salary.
Squads, you make something like
30,000 something a week.
You can make something like 300,000 to 800,000 a year.
Yeah, I can't
floating around in the
recall.
NFL at the minimum or the practice squad.
Yeah, but you might be able to make more in college. You could play more in college, certainly. There's a little bit more of a guarantee of where you're going to be. Practice squad life is tough. You bounce around. I think everybody knows it's dumb, but people are going to do what's best for them. And if you have a system where it makes sense on the ground to leave the NFL and come back to college football, people are going to do that. And until you have rules that are, I think this is one place, people ask, why would players want to give up freedom when we talk about collective bargaining? I think it's a very fair question. I think there's not a clean answer to that question. But this is one spot where it's like, I don't think people want people to have that ability to, 1, do this, and 2, be able to go to the courts and push this. Now, I'm skeptical that any of these guys we're actually going to see, I think the Stephen Daly, Ismail Mahdi situations are a little bit different than some of this Pyburn and some of the other stuff. Daly had an injury, wasn't really able to do much NFL stuff. Mahdi had kind of moved on to the business world, and now he came.
But Mahdi had opened up a barbecue shop.
Dickie's Barbecue, which isn't really Dickie's barbecue, unfortunately, but they say they're barbecue. Anyway, so it's like, I think that's maybe slightly different, but it's still equally as absurd. And I think this doesn't pass the smell test for the public. The public hates this. It's the same thing. I think people want players to be able to make money. They want players to be able to have freedom, do things that are fair and make sense. But I think we saw with the public reaction to the Bediako case that there is a step too far. This isn't quite as absurd as the Bediako case, but it's pretty close.
So I think this is generally kind of overblown. For several reasons. It makes for a great headline. You hear what we just said and you lose your mind and saying, what the heck is going on? The system is so broken. But for one, this is just a one-time thing. It's just this one class. This is not something that's going to continue every year because now the 5-year rule is in place. They're trying to retroactively be part of the 5-year rule. Moving forward, everybody's already got that 5th year. So there's no arguments to be made. It just happens this one time, and then we're done with it. It's not, you don't need to collectively bargain for this because it's not going to come up every year. 2.
Well, but Chris, you don't think there's other things that could happen in the future where you finagle your way? I mean, all the stuff that's happened and the limits of what the court can and can't do, you would say that. You would say, well, we can't have there's not going to be somebody that goes to court and says I can gamble on my own team and still retain eligibility. But we've seen that. So you say that. I'm not so sure that's the truth. Certainly in this specific case, it's a 1-year thing. But I think the idea that we could get similar things like this and similar things that the public finds widely distasteful, I think is definitely a possibility in the future.
But everybody talks about all the cases the NCAA loses in court, but they don't talk about how many they're actually winning, which is quite a lot.
They've done pretty well.
They ultimately won the Bediako case, like in the end of that. So courts have generally agreed that like the NCAA can enforce their eligibility rules up to a certain level. And again, this one got stayed. Now we'll see where it goes. It's going to ultimately, I think, be more impactful for basketball than football because football's starting now. And that brings me to my other point. Like, football's here already. Like, roster spots are full. There's not many spots left for most of these guys anyway. School is starting or has already started for many people. And I think there's only kind of a handful of really like impactful guys in this group. Like, guys are making the NFL, like they're not coming back. And also there's not that much money left to pay a lot of these guys because everybody's roster's been budgeted out and everything. And you saw Marcus Freeman say the other day, he was asked about trying to get a player back. And he said, look, graduate applications at Notre Dame are closed. Like, we're done. We're not doing that. Dan Lanning said the other day, he's not really doing this either because your roster is set. If you want to bring a guy in, you got to kick somebody off the team. We got roster limits in the sport now, and he doesn't want to do that. And so this idea,
not everybody's at the limit though, Chris, to be fair.
No, I know, but many of them are because you already, because you're in camp and your camp roster is already big. That has to be cut down to 105, which is smaller than it was even 2 years ago. And so like, and the other part is just like, you don't have to do this. You don't actually have to bring these guys in. And so you see these quotes from these, personnel people and coaches being like, oh, this is crazy. We're doing all this stuff now. You don't have to do it. Notre Dame's not doing it. Oregon's not doing it. You think you have to do it. And so ultimately, I think this will blow over. A handful of impactful guys will make it through. I don't think it's going to change anybody's season in the end. Is it crazy? Yes. But I think the federal stay that we just saw was a pretty big change that made it for it's going to make it less crazy than it was. Now, when we get to basketball, it might be different. But for football, I don't think it's as big a deal. Anything else?
So we shouldn't have to worry about Patrick Mahomes coming and filling Brendan Sorsby's spot, I feel like.
No, but you know what's funny? SMU has a former professional baseball player on their roster who is
Jordan Adams. 26
years old. He got in right before the rule went into effect. He's a freshman. He's a 26-year-old freshman. Former 5-star receiver like 8 years ago. Went and played baseball. I talked to Rhett Lashley about him when I was at practice, and he thinks he could be pretty good like next year when she's fully adapted to football again.
Can you imagine being a freshman in college at 26? I would want to die. I don't think I could do it. I don't think everyone.
I mean, you're probably not, living in the dorm and doing all that stuff at that point.
You're going to interact enough. When I was 26, if I had to interact that much with teenagers, I don't think I could handle it. Even then, it's just like,
dude, we do it every weekend when we cover the sport.
Not in the same way. I don't think I could take it.
All right. Speaking of actually of age college players, Alabama has a starting quarterback. Keelon Russell has won the battle, sophomore, over the more veteran Austin Mack. This was, I think, where everybody was kind of leaning for a while. Keelon Russell shined in spring ball. He was a former number 2 recruit in the country 2 years ago behind Bryce Underwood, and people have really liked him. And for Kalen DeBoer to go with him, I think says a lot about the upside that they see, the higher ceiling that they would have with Keelon Russell. Because Austin Mack, remember, has been with Kalen DeBoer for a while. He was with him at Washington before when they went to the national championship. And Keelon Russell comes in and wins the job. What do you think?
I think he gives him a lot of upside. I mean, we'll see what he is at the end of the day. I like him. A guy that coaches around the state of Texas have always talked a lot about and have been really hyped. Chris, by the way, are you aware of the lore surrounding the 2023 Duncanville football team?
I've started to see this, yes. But if you have the names handy, let me know.
I do. Keelon Russell, the quarterback on that team. Oregon receiver DeCorian Moore was on that team. Colin Simmons, the Texas edge rusher on that team. Caden Durham, the LSU running back. Also KJ Ford at Florida. Alex January, the defensive tackle at Texas. Pretty sick team, Chris. You'll be shocked to know they did win the state championship. Listen, that's the kind of squads that are rolling around out there at big time Texas high school football. So that's pretty nasty. But I like him. He feels like kind of a mix between. I think he's probably going to be a better passer than Jalen Milroe was. Certainly a little bit more fleet of foot than Ty Simpson was. So we'll kind of see like what he brings to the Kalen DeBoer offense. But it's youth. And there's probably going to be some growing pains at somewhere along the line, but exciting guy. We'll see what his upside is and how close he gets to that in year one.
Yeah, Duncanville, just south of Dallas, by the way, coached by Reginald Samples, the father of Oregon running backs coach Rashad Samples, who has been on this friend of the show, been on the show before. So
Coach Samples, good dude. I sat down with him when he was at I forget. It was a magnet school. I forget where he was, but I can't remember what we were talking about. But I sat down there for like an hour. This was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I was like, I like this guy. This guy, Big Reggie, Reginald Samples. You got to love him.
got some good players there in Duncanville. Yeah. So I think ultimately with Alabama, as we said, whoever the quarterback is, they got to be better at running the ball. They were so bad at running the ball last year. Whoever was in there, you need that running game to help them. Honestly, I think like I have bigger questions about Alabama than I do at quarterback, even though the quarterback is a big part of it. Can they rush the passer? Can they block up front and run the ball? That's ultimately going to determine what Alabama can do this year. Elsewhere in the SEC, Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy will not be available for the season opener against
I think it's Pine Bluff,
Arkansas Pine Bluff. And Ahmad Hardy, for people who don't remember, was shot in the leg back in the spring and has been working his way back. And Eli Drinkwitz was at media days, he was like relatively optimistic about him being cleared, but getting into football shape's another issue. He hasn't practiced yet
at all.
So so it's he's one of the best running backs in the country. He was All-American last year, number 2 in the country in rushing. Big, obviously important player for them. Arkansas Pine Bluff week 1, at Kansas week 2, and then week 4, late September is when they start SEC play. So it's notable. David, what do you think?
I think Eli Drinkwitz said they just want him to be able to practice for a couple weeks before he is going. What that contact looks like, I think, will be sort of complicated. I don't really know how you balance that, but the bullet did hit a bone. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know exactly sort of what all goes into the recovery. How much of that is mental? How much of that is physical? What kind of muscle atrophy you're looking at? What he was able to do, once he got out of the hospital, what rehab looked like. They've been a little bit light on the details there. I hope Ahmad is able to open up on kind of what this has been like for him at some point. But, I think obviously when you have a player, really any player, when it's an injury, but when it's an injury like this, it's a little bit different. I think people just want to be careful and not put a kid in jeopardy, especially when there's going to be important games to play down the line. I'm sure he wants to play. I'm sure he's itching to get out there, but safety first.
Definitely. Over at Texas, one we forgot to mention last week, but starting left tackle, the star left tackle, Trevor Gooseby, suffered a bone bruise in camp and is out indefinitely at the moment. They're grateful it's not worse. They were worried it could be something that could sideline him for the season or something like that, but it's not that. But he will be out for a bit. Notable, a really good player on that offensive line. They got Ohio State coming down in week 2 against a really tough schedule. That's a big one. Also, linebacker Tyanthony Smith was dismissed for conduct detrimental to the team. And with some reports out of out of Texas that the offense and Arch was not great in the most recent scrimmage until the end. Some Texas fans are kind of like in a panic right now over all this stuff. David, any thoughts on any of that?
I did some reporting actually on the Ty Anthony Smith situation. It turns out that he served some teammates pancakes made from pancake mix, and Sark was just like, I gotta go. We can't do this. We do self-made mixes here at Texas. We aim for higher standards. So, standards. The standard is the standard, Chris.
We got a comment from somebody agreeing with your pancake mix take from the Big 12 preview show. That's what that was a reference to. Last I saw, I hadn't seen any details about what that was, but Smith was going to be like right in that rotation. Probably not a starter considering you only play 2 linebackers, but he would have been that third linebacker there. So it's a notable loss for Texas as well. So a couple of notable guys down for Texas.
We should probably also throw out Hayward Howard's dad just going nuts on social media. Weird vibes out of Texas. What's real? What's fake there? It's hard to say. But like the reality is, like when there's a post like generally player parents weighing in on social media about literally anything is rarely a good idea. It rarely serves their children, but it does give for horrendous vibes and weird vibes going into the season for Texas. So nothing to win over Ohio State can't change. But weird.
Yeah, he was talking about like not playing politics and stuff like that.
I don't. It was like It's like when people talk about like receipts and exposing and all this stuff, it's like I don't know. I feel like if you had something, you would just tell us what's going on. It's like this whole like saber rattling thing on social media. It's very high school. Like let's grow up. If there's an issue that you would like to come to light, like. Then let it be. Don't be this little like, it's childish.
Yeah, very just again weird vibes kind of over Texas over the last week.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what it is. Over at TCU, they a couple weeks ago dismissed projected starting safety Jacob Fields for quote violation of team rules. He was a Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year last year at Louisiana Tech. And it turns out the reason he was because of an altercation with a teammate in the locker room. And the Fort Worth Star-Telegram first reported on this. I confirmed the reporting as well. The cops were called the next day to report it to the police. It was labeled as an aggravated assault, hands, fists, feet, or whatever. And TCU hasn't said anything. Sonny Dykes canceled the media availability. There's some other kind of rumblings and rumors of stuff out there that I don't want to address yet because I haven't been able to confirm it. But TCU plays this week. They're going to Ireland this week to play North Carolina, and they're down at least one starter here who's going to be on that defense. Potentially more to come from this. We'll see, but just another weird situation. A fight in the locker room that eventually leads to the cops being called. Any thoughts?
TCU lining up against the calm seas of North Carolina football. We'll see. Speaking of weird vibes, Ireland's going to be a weird one on Saturday. I'm excited to watch it. Should be an interesting football game.
Yeah, I may have more reporting on that kind of as it comes on The Athletic. And last one here, Brent Venables, Oklahoma coach, got a 2-year contract extension, a new 6-year deal through 2031 that will raise his pay to $10.5 million. If you're wondering, why did he get this contract extension? Good question. I don't really quite get it either. Venables has been there for 4 seasons. He has 2 losing seasons, and he has two 10-win seasons. They did make the playoff last year, where they lost a home game. I think the first team to lose a home playoff game, I think. And
no, we've had this conversation on the pod, Chris.
We did.
A&M. A&M did it, and then OU did it. I think OU did it.
No, OU did it first. Oklahoma did it first.
They did it first, and then 12 hours later, A&M did it.
It was so it was the first one. And he's also been shut out by Texas a couple of times in Red River. I don't get it. The AD has had some interviews about it, and basically the reasoning is basically trying to sell stability The GM, Jim Nagy, got an extension recently. I don't understand that, though, because nobody's trying to hire Brent Venables away. I haven't seen the actual. I'm trying to get the actual contract to see if the buyout's any different. That's obviously the most important thing here. I'm going to guess it's probably not. But I don't understand the idea of selling stability. You would basically be saying, don't worry, we're not going to fire him for the next several years because we can't fire him. And that's not usually a good message you want to send to fans. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, Chris, the running joke in the sport for a long time has been agents versus athletic directors has been the most one-sided rivalry in college sports. I generally believe that, like you said, unless somebody's trying to hire you away or you do something that I wouldn't say unprecedented, but you've enjoyed big-time success, which at Oklahoma is a pretty dang high bar. There's no reason to start handing out, these extensions way ahead of time. Now, the most charitable interpretation of this would be maybe you read the tea leaves and you're worried about Clemson, or maybe an agent has told you that you need to worry about Clemson, or new AD Roger Denny is just trying to establish some good faith with his most important employee. I don't know, but it doesn't really make sense. Not something that needed to happen, and this can turn on you so fast. You stumble out of the gate. Like, this is why, if you're going to do this, you got to do this in February or March, because people remember this now. If you give an extension in February or March coming off of a really good year, like if you're Oklahoma, you say, well, we went to the playoff, we had a bounce back year. It's kind of but it's sort of whatever. Nobody's really thinking about it. It's more connected to the previous season. Now it's we love what we've seen. It's more projecting to the future season. And if you stumble out of the gate, then people are mad, and you double that up with the AD. People are like, this guy's an idiot, especially when you don't have any capital built up. In Denny's case, weird decision. Didn't really get it. Congratulations to Brent Venables, but an odd decision to say the least.
It's the second time in 2 years he's gotten a bizarre extension. He got one 2 years ago coming off a 10-win season when nobody was like, why are you doing that? And with regards to Clemson, Oklahoma's a better job than Clemson. I wouldn't leave Oklahoma for Clemson. I don't think anybody would want to leave Oklahoma.
Like I said,
for Clemson.
Very charitable interpretation.
Yeah, I like this idea.
I think the idea would be, Chris. I mean, you could say you're got a high bar to clear there. Both those places you're going to have a high bar to clear in terms of expectation. But the idea is maybe it's an outrunning the guillotine situation where you're just okay at Oklahoma and there's an opening at Clemson. That's not the craziest thing I've ever seen. If you were Brent Venables.
What happens if you lose at Michigan week 2 and then lose at Georgia week 4 and then lose to Texas again, and suddenly you're 2-3 and you're selling stability? What stability? The stability of being what they've basically been an above average program to this point under Venables. Look, when he took over for Lincoln Riley, it was a bit of a mess. Caleb Williams went with him. There was no defense. He has fixed the defense. And now since they've brought in Jim Nagy, the way that they're running their personnel department is really, really strong in the way that a lot of other schools are trying to kind of copy that model. It really is an NFL model, which is we know what players fit in this style that we're running, and we're specifically recruiting toward that style. And we're not blasting out offers to a million kids. We're trying, their hit rate on guys who visit for their junior day, and commit, is really strong. And they're not over inviting too many people. So that's working. And I get that. And I guess you would say that's the stability we're looking for, and that it's not just the head coach that's determining if we're winning or losing. It's the GM and everything that goes along with it, which is how NFL teams work. And if you fire the coach, then you may have to bring in a new style, and then you change how you recruit, and the guys you have don't fit that. That's the pitch. And I get that. I just don't know why you have to give him the extension. He's got 4 years left on the deal. He's not going anywhere. If we're going to move toward that NFL style of thing, NFL coaches get to the ends of their contracts. That happens. You don't have many 10-year deals, and you have to do this because of recruiting. You don't need to do that anymore. You had him on a good deal. Just stick with it. So
the recruiting base extension is dead in the portal era. It doesn't do anything. So
it doesn't do anything. So I strange, but we'll see. Maybe Oklahoma gets off to a good start. Spoiler alert, I'm about to talk about them here in our next segment, which
I like them this year.
I do too. We're going to get into our college football preseason picks.
got 30 minutes for the rest of our life.
That's right, Mr. Tebow. Hopefully this segment won't go longer than 30 minutes. We'll do playoff brackets. We'll do. The show's been going long the last couple of weeks because they've been previews.
Yeah.
We're trying to get back to about an hour-long show. Don't worry.
Well, once we're not looking at a specific conference and we're looking at the entire country, I'm sure it'll be much shorter, Chris.
Okay, let's do our brackets. Let's do our playoff brackets here. First, let's each reveal the teams we have doing first-round buys and why we picked them. And then you'll go through your bracket. I'll go through my bracket. So tell me first. Who are your top 4 seeds in the playoff? By the way, a reminder for people who don't remember. The college football playoff now, starting this year, guarantees spots to the Power 4 champions and the highest ranked group of 5 team. Doesn't necessarily have to be a conference champion. That is different. The whole 2 G5 teams get in because the ACC champion wasn't ranked high enough. That's not happening anymore. Under these rules, which were agreed to 2 years ago, Duke would have gotten in last year. So, and also Notre Dame has an auto bid if they're ranked in the top 12. Again, not a reaction to last year. It was agreed to 2 years ago. Whoops, this is how it turned out. So, David, who are your top 4? Who are your top 4 for the playoff?
Number 1, Notre Dame. Number 2, Oregon. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 4, Miami.
So I assume you think Notre Dame's going undefeated in the regular season.
I do.
And therefore, Miami 1 loss, ACC
probably
champion?
1 loss, but ACC champion. Probably a bunch of beatdowns in the middle there. I think Miami's going to be really, really good. And then I think similar to last year, I want to believe in Indiana. I have Indiana actually at number 5. But Oregon and Ohio State meet in the Big Ten championship and play close and both get buys.
Okay. I've got number 1, Miami. Number 2, Indiana. Number 3, Notre Dame. And number 4, Georgia. So Miami potentially going undefeated in the regular season, but beating Notre Dame. Indiana winning the Big Ten with maybe 1 loss. Notre Dame 11-1 with that loss being BYU on the road. And Georgia winning the SEC maybe with 2 losses to make up my top 4. So doing the bracket, I realized when we were doing this exercise at the Athletic, is a lot harder than just pick your top teams and boom, they go. Because the seeding is not going to work out that way because of how different these schedules are. So, you can have Notre Dame may not be your preseason number 1, but they could be number 1 here. Or I don't have Miami preseason number 1, but I like their schedule better than Indiana's, so I have Miami there. So, take me through your bracket now. Give me your first-round matchups.
First-round matchups. Again, these were totally random and definitely not tweaked in a semi-troll. The 8-9 game, I have USC and Oklahoma. The 5-12 game, I have Indiana and Boise State. In the 7-10 game, I have Texas and Texas Tech. And the 6-11 game, I have Georgia and BYU. You are muted, Chris.
I'm sorry. So USC, Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley going to do a good enough job to make the playoff, and he's going to go travel to Oklahoma, right? You hit him in the 8th seed?
Travel to Oklahoma. Lane Kiffin, you ain't seen nothing yet. Although I don't know. I'm sure there'll be, it's not quite as much of an anger as much of like a shaming at this point. I think in year 1 or year 2, Lincoln would get it if he came back to Oklahoma, but it won't quite be the same. Yes, that is accurate.
And you've got Texas hosting Texas Tech. After Joe McGuire called them out, after Sark called them out, tried to get a game. I like it. I tried to figure out a way if it could happen on mine. It just didn't happen for me that way, but I like it. I
want to believe in Texas Tech, but the quarterback health situation. If we're really in a situation where, fresh off of whatever he's been doing, Tommy Castellanos is having to start a game for Texas Tech, which is way more reasonable a scenario than anybody thinks right now. I don't know what the bet would be in Vegas for Tommy Castellanos to start a game for Texas Tech, but I'm sure it's not high enough, and I would probably take it. So
you have Texas Tech and BYU making it. I do as well. But
I
to have
do.
them at 10,
I do.
to have them at
I only have one ACC team making it, but I have two Big 12 teams making it.
so to have Tech and BYU both make it low, I mean, you got to think what both of them are like 10-2 ish, or maybe
Somewhere in there.
Tech's 11-1. And
I think Tech
sneaks in
probably.
both-
I basically have Tech winning the league and BYU sneaking in on the strength of a Notre Dame win, possibly.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that could do it. All right, who do you have winning those first round matchups?
I take USC to win that game, Indiana to rout
wow.
Boise, Texas to beat Texas Tech and prove Joey McGuire wrong, and Georgia just too much for BYU. I think they get beat up a bit in the trenches there. Don't love Georgia on the whole. Like Georgia, I was talking with our editor about this. Georgia has basically become like super Iowa. They play a lot like Iowa these days, except just with way better athletes. It's like, well, we've taken a vow of not having any plays longer than 30 yards, so we're not going to do that. We're going to play field position and defensive ball games, and we're just going to have game manager, quarterback. We're going to run them a little bit. Just good old-fashioned corn-fed football, except just with five-star athletes. That's basically like Georgia. When's the last time you had fun watching a Georgia game, Chris? Was it maybe Tennessee game was kind of fun last year, but like,
Yeah.
they haven't been fun for years.
So, all right. So, quarterfinals. What are the matchups
Yes.
and who you got winning them?
Quarterfinals. I have Notre Dame beating USC in a rivalry game.
That didn't play.
have-
That would be fun. That's another great setup because they didn't play. They
Chris,
won't play
I'm
this
telling
year.
you, this is one of the great brackets of our time.
Yeah.
Indiana beats Miami in a national championship rematch. Texas beats Oregon in the Willie Lyles Bowl. Gets a little revenge there. And then Ohio State beats Georgia in this game.
Okay.
Exercising the demons of missing out on a national title a couple years ago at the midnight ball drop missed kick.
So, what are your semifinals and who do you have winning?
Semifinals, Notre Dame beats Indiana, gets to talk about little brother stuff, and Texas finally beats Ohio State, gets the job done in a rematch. And then in my national championship, I have Texas beating Notre Dame in a very high scoring game.
And somewhere Joe Tessitore says Texas is back, folks.
The Tyrone Swoops 18-wheeler rematch. Incredible bracket, full of storylines, incredible games. Chris, I'm confident that'd be the best 12-team playoff in the history of mankind.
That is the most. You had a lot of fun with your bracket, and I'm glad you did. You set up storylines. You set up games we want to see. That should be the fun of it. I was breaking my head too much trying to figure out how teams would fit based on different things and how they would go. So I have in my first round. Number 5, Texas Tech against number 12, Boise State. Texas Tech winning that one. I've got 6 seed Texas facing number 11 seed Oklahoma, getting a Red River in Austin finally.
So, Chris, in your wildest dream, we have a conference rivalry game in the first round of the playoff. This is Dwight Schrute running a bed and breakfast in hell with the devil while making $80,000. You got to dream a little, Chris. We can't have a conference rivalry rematch from 2 months earlier in the first round. We can't have it. We can't.
Well, this is again like I have Texas going to the SEC championship game and losing. That puts them around number 6. And I have Oklahoma maybe sneaking in with 3 losses because of the strength of the wins they may have on top of that. That puts them as like last team in-ish. That's just where they came up.
I am begging the committee, cook the books for us. I don't care what you have to do. Do not give us Texas, Oklahoma, or the equivalent in the first round.
Yeah, but that would be fun.
They say they don't do it.
We had rematches last year for the first time when we had.
They sucked. I don't want to watch that. I want to watch random matchups. I want to watch storylines.
Tulane Ole Miss was a rematch, and Alabama Oklahoma was a rematch. So like we know it happens now. Like we know that it is a thing that they can actually do.
And I hate it. No rematches. Hard no on rematches.
Okay, but because this is always a neutral site game, and including the one time it was the Big 12 championship, this would be fun to have on a campus, Texas Oklahoma, like in a playoff
That's
situation.
True.
I'm not saying
you have won me over with that thought. I had not considered that.
Yeah, I'm not saying move the regular game from the Cotton Bowl. I like where it is. But the idea of like, whoop, we have one of these on campus, like that could be a lot of fun.
Watching Texas Oklahoma on a campus would be weird. That'd be
Very
a weird
yeah.
viewing experience of like
Yeah.
Texas in Norman. When's the last time Texas went to Norman? Like the 60s?
I don't actually know.
I don't even think my brain could handle that. I feel like we'd have to play it in Dallas just out of principle.
Elsewhere, I would have number 7 seed Ohio State, losers of 2 games, but reaching the Big Ten championship and losing. Ohio State beating BYU, the 10 seed, who I have sneaking in thanks to that win over Notre Dame. And 8 seed Oregon beating 9 seed LSU. I think Oregon gets in, but they don't make the Big Ten championship game. Obviously, those 3 Big Ten teams are kind of above everybody else. So neither
Chris,
of us.
I looked it up, by the way. Do you know the last time Texas did play a football game in Norman?
I don't know, the 50s?
1922.
Wow.
I know.
Red River is, again, I go to it every year because it's in Dallas here.
It's awesome.
It's one of the coolest environments. It's one of those college football bucket list games everybody's got to go.
I haven't gotten to go since I moved from Dallas, but I used to live like 5 minutes away. We lived in downtown Dallas for several years. Yeah. And it's legit. It's legit.
So quarterfinals for me. Number 1 seed Miami against number 8 seed Oregon. A matchup of Mario Cristobal teams. Miami winning that game to move on. Number 2 seed Indiana plays Ohio State. I think this would be a rematch. Rematch of the Big Ten championship, at least. Indiana beats Ohio State again. 2/7. I have the number 3 seed Notre Dame against number 6 seed Texas, as you have in a semifinal, or as you have in your final. I have Notre Dame winning that game. And then I have number 4 seed Georgia against number 5 seed Texas Tech, with Georgia winning that game. And then in the semis, the first actual seed-based upset I have, the 4 seed Georgia beats number 1 seed Miami. And then Indiana versus Notre Dame, like you have in the other semi. Indiana beats Notre Dame. And then in my national championship, I have Indiana beating Georgia, a matchup we've wanted to see for a while, and we have it happening. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen my preseason 138 yet, I've got Indiana at number 1. As we talked about in the Big Ten preview and the last episode, I think we're really underselling what Indiana can do this year and the guys that they brought in.
I kind of agree. I want to see it, but like I totally see a world in which we're sitting here in October and it's like, Indiana's the best team again. Like I find that very believable. I'm not in love with their roster as much as some of the other rosters. It's very hard to not be entranced by talent this time of year. And you look at like Texas, LSU was just outside of my bracket. Like I don't know that I fully trust them yet. But like you look at LSU, you look at Texas, you look at Ohio State, you're like, man, those are some sick rosters. And Indiana's very, very good. Good enough to win it all, but not quite as sexy as some of these other teams. But like if Indiana does the whole thing they did last year where it's like, hey, we don't make mistakes. Good luck to everybody.
Now, I did like Indiana a little bit more when Stephen Daly was coming back, considering he was their best pass rusher. But as of now, he's not, so that does change it a bit. But, like Indiana, again, preseason number 6. Like, they got 8 first-place votes. But again, if the helmet didn't say Indiana, I think they'd be getting some more attention. Now, you and I both basically just picked teams that are in the top 15-ish of the poll. And that usually doesn't happen. Normally, now I think last year all the Power 4 teams that made it, I believe, were ranked in the preseason top 25. So I don't think we had any unranked teams from the Power 4 come out. But is there anybody who you didn't include in your bracket who you're like, here's a team we're not talking about much that maybe could make it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at, to me, like 3 jump out. I think like Virginia Tech, just because the ACC, like the idea that you could squeeze a second team in there. There's nobody in there that like scares you that much outside of Miami. Like I think SMU is good, but very beatable. I think look out for Arizona State in the Big 12. I think I like the way they smell a little bit coming into there. South Carolina in the SEC. And then and this is purely a schedule-based thing we talked about on the pod, but like if Penn State's sitting there at 10-2 with the easy schedule, sitting in the Big Ten, I mean, I think they would get stomped the first team that they played that was in the playoff. But like the idea that they could sneak in based on again going 10-2 against an easy schedule, like I think they would smell a little bit like Texas A&M last year, where it's like you look at the wins and you're like, I don't know about all this, but 10-2 in a major conference, the odds are going to be in your favor of getting in the bracket
because they don't play Indiana, Ohio State, or Oregon, I believe. So yeah, Penn State's the one I thought about, the one that's like not really on the radar that maybe gets there.
Because I don't believe in their roster, and I'm very skeptical about porting over like a middle of the road Big 12 team into the Big 10. But man, we've run through the schedule, Chris. Like their toughest games at Michigan, at Washington, USC at home. The rest of it, like they might be favored. They could be favored in every other game, and they might be favored in one or two of those. So
yes,
we'll see.
The other one, Oklahoma State for me, who I have in my preseason top 25. That's if everything you import from North Texas works. They were 1-11 last year, haven't won a Big 12 game in 2 years, but I like the upside there. If they made a run, they got a tough schedule. They got Oregon in the non-conference. But I could see a potential run of something in the surprises, folks. And then maybe Tennessee. Now they've had some injuries on defense, which we don't love, but if the quarterback play is good enough, I like the pieces they have everywhere else.
I like Brandon. I think he's going to win that job. Good vibes coming out of there. The injuries are what they are, but we'll see.
Oh, also, I guess speaking of South Carolina, we didn't mention Dylan Stewart may not be ready for the beginning of the season. It seems like dealing with some stuff that's notable considering he's one of the best pass rushers in the country. All right. Good on bracket. Anything else, or are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay. Let's move over to Heisman picks. Thank you, Keith. David, who's your Heisman pick?
Well, if I was taking a flyer, I would probably do Sam Leavitt, but it felt disingenuous if I don't have LSU in my bracket, because obviously, if you go 9-3 at LSU, you can't win the Heisman Trophy. We've learned that, of course. But I like Sam Leavitt as a flyer. But I'm going to take my first pick in the Heisman draft, the CJ Carr experience. I think he's going to have a massive season. Notre Dame's going to be really, really good. The schedule sets them up to have major success. And I'm not going to go on a rant about Heisman voters, Chris, but if you're the quarterback on an 11-1 Notre Dame team, you're going to be tough to keep out of the top 3 of the Heisman. If the numbers are there, depending on who's there with him, got a great shot to win. Give me CJ Carr as my pick, Sam Leavitt as my flyer.
Well, especially if they're 12-0, which they could be in your bracket as well. I mean, their only notable games are SMU at home, at Miami, and at BYU, right? So it's going to be a pretty easy schedule. I like the CJ Carr pick. I'm going to go, based on my bracket, I think I'm going to go Darian Mensah. Maybe he's more of my flyer, but if Miami's 11-1 or so, as I had them going, it's going to mean he's probably going to have had a really good year. He's got a lot of really good wide receivers around him. Could Malachi Toney take some of that away? Possibly. I think it's very possible. But I guess I'll go with him. But the pick I made in our Heisman bracket and my real pick is Arch Manning. I think he's going to have a big year with Cam Coleman and all that stuff. He's a Manning. People are going to want to vote for him if he's having a big year. Everybody's going to be talking about him. But the schedule's tough. And if you're, again, 9-3 against a really tough schedule, if you lose to Ohio State in week 2 and don't play great again, you can see that going wrong in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
The most interesting one, though, to me in terms of the Heisman conversation is Jeremiah Smith, who, we're all just presuming he's going to win the Biletnikoff or be up for the Heisman and all this kind of stuff. And he was a finalist last year, but can he do enough as a receiver in this new offense under Arthur Smith to actually win it in the end? It'd be weird if he didn't like win those awards on his way out, but
Yeah, I mean, so much that's tied to production. I just don't,
Mhm.
you know, it's a little bit like the Marvin Harrison Jr. thing, which, by the way, that's another weird NFL story. The Marvin Harrison Jr. experience seems very weird. But I don't know that Tony, I disagree with your Mensa take, because the way that Tony plays, you know, he seems to always be able to get open. He makes space in the middle of the field, catches everything. But like, I think it's going to be really hard for a small receiver to win the Heisman, because like you look at Devontae Smith. Okay, Devontae Smith won the Heisman because he was constantly 4 yards behind everybody at the back of the defense. Or you look at like a Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald type, who's just like a physical freak. Jeremiah Smith-Hurtley to some degree, Cam Coleman to a certain degree. Those guys are not as accomplished, obviously, but like in that physical form of like, oh, this is a dominant player. Whereas like Malachi Tony is just so small. The way that he plays, I don't think sets him up to earn a lot of. I think it sets him up to be very productive. I think another 100 catch season is really realistic. You can have 1,500 yards, but it's going to be a lot of like 8 and 20 yard catches, and not as many like 60-yard catches, and not as many like just he's not just going to go vert on people, which I think is like
but
the way that Heisman voters' brains work.
But he could take a 5 yard and take it 50. I think we could still see more of that. I think though. I think there's he can get the wow plays, but it'd be a different kind of wow play, because he did catch a lot of stuff behind the line of scrimmage last year. But he was also, a 17, 18-year-old freshman, so he's going to definitely grow his game as well. But it's interesting. Like, it does feel wide open. It feels like there's a lot of real possibilities. I think that's exciting. I think the way the last couple of years have gone with some surprising Heisman winners, nobody drafted Fernando Mendoza in our Heisman thing a year ago. So it's fun. Like, going through this bracket, I think there's like 7 teams that could win the national championship as I go into the season. Miami, Indiana, Notre Dame, Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Oregon. Like, those 7, I feel very confident any of them could win the national championship. Would it be crazy if an LSU did or a USC did?
I think LSU is going to tell us. LSU is going to tell us what they are real early. If LSU is going to be that team, again, look at the early schedule. Clemson to start, at Ole Miss, Texas A&M. That's all in September. If LSU is all that and they're going to be a contender, I think they're going to announce that very, very quick. If they're out of there 3-1 with like a close loss, or 4-0, LSU is going to be sitting there in the top 3, staring down at everybody going like, hey, we're back.
Also, College Game Day announced that they will be going to LSU Ole Miss in Ole Miss week 3. So we already have the first 3 College Game Days out. They're going to be where are they going to week 1? I forgot. Week
Isn't
2 they're going to
LSU. Week 2 is Ohio State, Texas.
Week 2 is Ohio State, Texas, and week 3 is LSU Ole Miss. So they've kind of got a lot of these set up. Should be exciting. I'm going to have a lot of fun. But I think we're good. I think we're good on that, and I think we did it within 30 minutes. So good on us. Tim Tebow's going to not come after us. All right, I got one mailbag question here. So let's jump over to the mailbag for a minute.
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Thank you, Nick. Question from Nivan Lakshman, who says, hello, David and Chris. Long-time listener since the beginning, first-time emailer. I listen to a bunch of college football podcasts, and Bunch Formation is by far my favorite. Thanks for making a great show and the work you put in without producers or editors. Question. If we had a 12-team playoff in the late 2000s and 2010s, could Stanford have made a playoff run in some of those seasons? Though Stanford had tremendous success in the Harbaugh and David Shaw tenures, they always seem to be a few ranking spots out of the BCS title game and later the 4-team playoff. I think people forget how much solid NFL talent Stanford produced during those years on both sides of the ball. If Andrew Luck or Kevin Hogan had opportunities to compete the playoffs, I think they could have made serious title runs. And if Stanford had the chance to make successful playoff runs, one could argue the Big Ten might have included Stanford in their conference expansion moves. Interesting alternate reality to ponder. I think about stuff like this all the time. In that if we had a 12-team playoff, how different would things have been? It's kind of like if we had a 4-team playoff, how many championships would Bobby Bowden have won? All those times he finished top 5 and didn't get to play for a title. And the reason I had Ryan Day as a tier 2 instead of tier 1, what if Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel had a 4-team or a 12-team playoff to make runs in. Stanford's interesting because that style of play that they had, the powerful, elite offensive line, that travels. Take that to a road game, take that to a neutral site, take that to when you're in the third game of a playoff run and your team's getting worn down. Yeah, I think Stanford really could have made a couple of runs in there.
I buy it. I think to stretch this out, it's been the most frustrating thing, not been, it just was at that time, of seeing teams that I felt like were national title caliber that never got a chance to prove it. In the Stanford realm, I think one of the first teams that comes to mind is 2011 Oklahoma State. Would have liked to have seen them go head to head with any number of. This was back when the SEC was offensively challenged, and I don't know how that would have gone. Would have liked to have seen it. And then some of these group of 5 teams, like obviously UCF in 17 jumps out. I don't know that they were as good as some of these other teams, like TCU in the 2010s. Some of these Utah teams. I think people would look at the group of 5 very differently. We hit on it in the group of 5 episode, but the way that roster construction and maintaining stuff works in today's game, it's very hard for the group of 5 to do anything. But a 12-team playoff where a group of 5 team could have a 3-year starter at quarterback with 2 NFL players on their defense. Like, I would have liked to have seen some of those games too. And how those play out, I don't think we know, but those rosters, if you look back at, again, some of those Utah rosters, some of the TCU rosters, certainly UCF, kind of Cincinnati as well in 21. Like, those are really, really good teams with a bunch of NFL talent. So that jumps out to me.
A week ago, I was rewatching Oklahoma Boise State, the Fiesta Bowl, the famous hook and ladder, all that game. And it's a game a lot of people like to point back to now and say, remember when bowl games meant something and people weren't opting out and this game mattered? Like, can we go back to that? I rewatched that game, and right before the game-winning Statue of Liberty play, Tom Brenneman, who's on the call, says, this game is why we need a playoff. So Boise State could play Ohio State and some of the higher ranked teams to see where they would have gone. So it was a nice reminder that we've never agreed on anything at any point. And specific to Stanford, from 2010 to 2015, they had 5 top 10 finishes. And at 3 Rose Bowls in there, a Fiesta Bowl, an Orange Bowl. Andrew Luck was there for a bit. Just so many good players coming through at that time. Yeah, like I look back at these Stanford teams in that period. Yeah, I think that's a team that could have. Remember the fits they would put Oregon through sometimes. Oregon
would be dominating people, and then it'd be like Stanford 24, Oregon 14. After Oregon had put up like 60 points a game every week before that.
It would have been a lot of fun. Appreciate that email. Send any email, mailbag questions.
Chris, should we do a ethical dilemma before we go to remember some guys?
Yes, but send those mailbags to bunchformationpod@gmail.com. We promise we're going to try to keep this episode an hour. David is the reason it is not, but
as always.
Yes, go ahead. You wanted to talk
Chris,
about this.
So we were confronted with this ethical dilemma in the past week. I'm very curious what our listeners would do and also what you would do. So we have a corner lot in a subdivision. It's a great lot. It's a big reason why we bought this house. But about, a while back, there was a fire in the neighborhood. It's like 3 houses down, 3 or 4 houses down. It's kind of kitty cornered. And so recently they've begun cleaning out the house to try and they're going to get it back to where it needs to be. So there's dumpsters out in front of it. Well, at some point, I don't know what happened, but they were, I guess, replacing the microwave. And somebody clearly associated with this house, because nothing else makes sense, had the old microwave in a box put on the corner of our house, right by the stop sign. And then also, the tray that the microwave is that spins, dropped the tray in the middle of the street. So it had a bunch of broken glass, in the street. Okay. Yeah. Now it's tempered glass, so it's not going to cut anybody, but it's obviously an eyesore. It's very obvious who did this. And so then what happened, Chris, was a 4-day standoff, because obviously I don't know the person who did this. It's clearly construction people 3 or 4 doors down that have put this random box that's technically technically not my property, but it's clearly, especially with our house. But I think if you do any level of critical thinking, you recognize that like it's not our house that has a brand new microwave with some damage, like sitting in a box on the corner, and then clearly some glass. So it was like 3 days, maybe 4, that it sat there. I was like, I don't want to clean this up out of principle because I don't want to reinforce this behavior as something that I'd like to encourage because they're not done cleaning out this house. That's like, catty corner from our house. What do you do in this situation? Because on the one hand, it was an eyesore. It made our lot look like we were, running a who knows what over here. But on the other hand, anybody who looked at it clearly would recognize like we didn't do this. What do you do in this situation?
So the standoff is that you have a box with a microwave in it in front of your house?
Just sitting out in the front yard, basically. Like it's right next to the stop sign, probably 20 yards from my front door.
But it's from the house. It's from a house across the street.
Like I don't know how it got there because it's the house.
I was gonna say like why is
down.
Why is it not there and in front of yours?
I don't know. I have no answers for that. I don't know. Again, it became a battle of principles.
If you know where it's from, I would just go put it in front of their house.
Well, that's an assumption, and they haven't lived there for a while because there's so much fire damage.
Yeah.
They've been gone. It's construction people that are like cleaning out this house.
Okay. So when do you is your bulk garbage day coming up soon?
So that's the other thing too, is the way that the garbage works. If you set a box next to if it's not in the can, they won't take it. You have to specifically schedule a pickup for
you don't have a once a month put anything bulk out. Okay,
if you're gonna have something, you got to schedule it. Okay, yes.
Okay, we have it once a month. It's like the second Monday or whatever. Like a big giant carpets stuff that doesn't fit. That's the day to do it. But you don't have that. I guess I would go put it back in front of that house, right?
Okay. Well,
what other options are you considering?
The postscript to this story is at some point somebody cleaned up the glass. You could go around it at the stop sign, and then at some point I may have set it back in front of the porta potty in that yard. For the construction workers,
as you should have done.
But it was somebody else's responsibility. And now the grass in the front of there's like a big square that's like dead now because it sat there for like 3 or 4 days. Well, but I felt like the principle of the thing was like just on principle. I don't want to reinforce this behavior, but also I don't want a random box of garbage sitting in the front.
Yeah, I don't understand the dilemma. They put it all on you to make your decision. I don't know what the standoff is here. No one else.
They have 2 huge dumpsters in the driveway that they're cleaning out this house for. How did it even get in my yard? I don't know.
These are the questions I have.
It's not close. It's a good, I can see the house from my window. It's like 50, 60 yards away. So somebody carried this box. I don't know. I have so many questions about how this microwave ended up in my yard. I don't know.
Anyway. So do I. But I'm glad you made the right decision and didn't just leave it there forever. So,
good job. Shout out to whoever cleaned up the glass. Because
yes, that was the most important part.
Well, if it was real glass, I would have agreed, but it's tempered glass. It's not going to
Yeah, but you don't want to be driving over that still and all that stuff.
I agree. But I was kind of driving around it or going out. There's 2 ways you can get out of the subdivisions. I went the other way. Anyway.
Okay. Thank you for that detour of the show. All right. Let's end the show the way we always do, and that is by remembering some guys.
It's better than this. Guys being dudes.
And going back to Oklahoma, I spent yesterday when I was doing some work. I've been putting on old college football games that just pop up on YouTube for me. And I'm actually finishing the game right now as we watch it. But 1978 Oklahoma, Nebraska popped up, and I was like, all right, let's watch this. And I tell you what, Billy Sims, that guy could scoot, man. That was
the barbecue guy played football too?
The barbecue guy played football. Better than Dickie's barbecue, potentially. Billy Sims. In 1978, he rushed for 1,762 yards, averaging 7.6 yards per carry. If you include the postseason, he had 1,896 yards. He won the Heisman Trophy that year. He also fumbled at the end of this game against Nebraska that cost him the game. But wins the Heisman in 78 as a junior, the 6th junior to do so. Then in 1979, he's the runner-up for the Heisman, behind Charles White at USC. So nearly a 2-time Heisman Trophy winner. He would go on to play 5 years in the NFL and was good for my Detroit Lions before a really bad knee injury ended his career. He also, yes, opened up the Billy Sims barbecue restaurants, which there was one near me back in Michigan when I lived up there. I think I had it once. It was fine. And he's also, if you've watched Heisman Trophy ceremonies over the last 10 years or so, and you've heard a guy yelling out, "Boomer," that's Billy Sims.
I thought that was Sam Bradford.
Oh. Incredible running back. Watching this game, he's on my TV right now as I look at him. In Oklahoma, that guy could move, man. As the kids would say now, Billy Sims was a problem.
Chris, can I tell you why I have an actual maybe Billy Sims bias? Actually,
sure.
The year was 2010, maybe 2000. No, maybe it's 2000. Yeah, it's the fall of 2009, I believe. And I get a fraudulent charge alert on my, I don't remember if it was a debit card or credit. I think it was a credit card. Somebody had stolen my credit card and run up like $200 worth of charges at Billy Sims Barbecue. I had to go through all this rigmarole to get it done. We got it back. We got the charges knocked out, but I had to you know how it goes. I had to get a new card, and then I had to plug that card into 8 other different, auto pay bills. It was very annoying. And so from then, I didn't actually eat at the Billy Sims Barbecue. When I lived in Norman, I would eat more at what's the one? They got a pig mascot that's pretty good. They have good ribs. I forget the name of it. And then Rudy's. I would eat more there in Norman, but never ate at Billy Sims Barbecue, but did have some fraudulent charges. From then on, I've kind of been every time I hear Billy Sims, I'm like, Billy. Somebody
you're mad at him?
Charges.
Like you're mad at him?
I think he was personally responsible. You can't rule it out, Chris. He should have known when he read the card. He's like, oh, I know this is not David Ubben, the 22-year-old beat writer for the Oklahoman. Chris, I am going to remember Sammy Coates.
Yes.
He's an Auburn receiver, led the team in receiving on the way to the 2014 national championship game. Very nearly won that national championship. I would argue they probably do win it if Trey Mason goes down instead of finishing out that touchdown run there late in the game that allowed Jameis Winston and Kelvin Benjamin to have some heroics. But, Chris, more importantly, Sammy Coates, after a NFL career, has gone on to be a coach, and in his second year coaching Columbia High School in, I believe, Greenville, Alabama. Excuse me if I don't have that right. But Saturday night, they won a game for the first time since 2015. Guys are celebrating. Very cool. Football season's back, man. And it's great to see people enjoying the fruits of their labor. I can't imagine how difficult that is. They were 0-10 last year. Come back this year and win their season opener. And Sammy Coates focus on the future. Gus Malzahn, his former head coach, sent out a congratulatory tweet. He did some cool interviews after. Shout out to Sammy Coates. Good player. Great player. Also, number 1 on Bruce Feldman's Freaks list in 2014. So,
how about that? Also, it looks like Columbia High School is in Huntsville, Alabama. Actually,
Huntsville. Excuse me, not Greenville. Excuse me.
You kind of just brushed past it. They had a 101 game losing streak.
Yes, I thought the first win since 2015, 101 games. Yes.
Yeah. 2015, 11 years ago. 101 game losing streak. And they won. And apparently they won 41-14, won big. They beat Greensboro. And a lot of media was there because everybody kind of knew this was happening because it's apparently a pretty good team now. So, yes, great call. They were
down 14-0 in that game, by the way. The quarterback threw a pick six. They're down 14-0 in the first quarter and then scored the next 41 points in 41-14. Awesome.
Great.
Congrats to Sammy and those kids.
And remember, yes, we do. And nomination from, again, listener Navon Lakshman, who we just mentioned with the mailbag, who wanted to shout out Kevin Hogan. Former Stanford quarterback from 2012 to 2015. He won 3 Pac-12 championships in 4 years and won 2 Rose Bowl games over Wisconsin and Iowa. He had a lot of pressure taking over the job after Andrew Luck graduated, but I feel he was underappreciated as a solid passer who was also an effective runner. He has school records for rushing yards by a QB. Combined total offense yard in his career passing efficiency is second only to Luck. The first college football game I ever attended was November 2015 when number 6 Notre Dame played number 9 Stanford. And in his last home game, Hogan threw 4 touchdowns and Stanford won 38-36 on a game-winning 45-yard field goal that knocked Notre Dame out of playoff contention. I got to rush the field along with all the other Stanford fans in my very first college football game. I think Hogan deserves more credit for Stanford's success. Kevin Hogan, we remember you. That's a great story. Your first game, you get a walk-off field goal and rush in the field. That's awesome.
That's pretty awesome. I don't. The only first game I remember, our friend and former colleague Nicole Auerbach's very first football game was App State, Michigan, when she was a freshman at Michigan. I'm trying to remember. I mean, my first football game ever going to was Arkansas, South Carolina in 1995. As a college student, I don't even think I remember. It was not remarkable. It would have been the 2005 season.
Let's save some of this because we're going to have an upcoming episode. We're going to retell our stories of how we got here, got to college football, got into these jobs, got into this podcast. But that will come at a future episode, as will actual football, our next episode, the Week 0 preview. We'll be back on Thursday to talk about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, I forgot to mention at the top of the show, our College Football 27 review episode went up over the weekend. It's in your feeds. It's on the YouTube. Go listen. We talked for almost an hour about the game. And we talked to Ben Howmiller, the lead producer from EA Sports, about the game. Really good time, really good conversation. Go check that out if you want to listen to that as well. And that's going to do it here. Next time we talk to you, we'll be talking about actual football. For David Ubben, I am Chris Vannini. Thank you for listening and watching Bunch Formation. We will talk to you on Thursday.
And even if you lost 101 games in a row, please bring back the turnover chain. And Kurt Signetti, I guess.